Good evening. My name's Stephen Jackson, and this is my persuasive policy speech. I'm talking to you tonight about how the Air Force should change its fitness standards or its fitness policy more so to fit the career field than to be just this standard across the board policy. And some of our main points tonight are they're going to be the history of the Air Force standard. We're going to talk about how it was before I joined the Air Force. Then we're going to get over into the current fitness standard, the way it is now. What qualifies me to speak on this topic? Been in the Air Force almost 17 years, and I've watched it change from one thing to another, and some things are in the works that I believe they probably could work, but I don't believe we've gotten it right yet. So with that, we'll get over into the history of the Air Force fitness standard, or pretty much just share with you, everything that governs things in the Air Force is an AFI, an Air Force instruction. And the Air Force instruction that governs fitness is AFI 362905. Usually when you have an instruction that deals with people, all the instructions that deal with people they have the prefix 36, which deals with personnel. And then you have the suffix, which is the last four letters or last four numbers of the instruction. In this case, it'd be 2905. Governing of the fitness of Air Force personnel. 362905 has changed back and forth through the years. Before I joined the Air Force, the members were subjected to, I think it was a 2-mile run. Well, by the time that I joined, the run had been thrown out the window. The run and the push-ups and everything were thrown out the window. There was this silly bike test that you would sit on an exercise bike, and you'd pedal for 30 minutes. Excuse me. You'd pedal for 30 minutes, and somebody who smoked 3 or 4 cigarettes before the test could get the same score or better than somebody who was in peak human condition, or Olympic condition, if I could say it that way. So this test wasn't a true measurement, in the Air Force's mind, this test wasn't a true measurement of the fitness of its members. So some years down the road, the Air Force revamped 362905, and they came up with some basic things that members should be able to do. A 1.5-mile run, and the 1.5-mile run, the push-ups and the sit-ups. And the way this is gauged is according to an age bracket. So from ages, the youngest age you can get, as far as the Air Force is concerned, 17 to pretty much 30 years old, you have to do so many push-ups and sit-ups, and you have to be able to run your 1.5 miles so fast. And from another age bracket to another age bracket, it become, as you get older, the test should get a little bit easier. It should. But people are subjected to injuries and things of this nature, so should be in the underlying word. Anyway, the Air Force fitness standard, it has progressed throughout the years, still doing the 1.5-mile run, still doing the push-ups and sit-ups and things of this nature. But certain career fields in the Air Force have an even stricter fitness standard. Those that deal with the combat operations, your TAC-Ps, your JTACs, your security forces, they have stricter fitness standards, and understandably so. They, their career fields are a lot more combat oriented than those of someone that would work in finance, somebody who works in legal, people who push papers all day. You're not going to have to worry about how high an admin person can jump over a wall. Just if they can, as long as they can make it to the copier, they should be good. But that's pretty much the the history and the types of fitness evaluations that the Air Force has. We'll get on over into the current fitness standard. The current fitness standard is still 362905, and it's still in some regards the same as when they originally switched it back over. But there are certain things that have been added as far as the fitness standard. Now, as where before you could fail a fitness test and it wouldn't be so bad. They would put you on a program that people dubbed the Fat Boy program. Really, the proper term for it was the Fitness Improvement Program, and there were no adverse penalties. Long as you improved and you got a passing score, it was okay. But now the fitness standard has as far as the penalties are concerned, it's gotten a whole lot stricter. For the first failure of a fitness test is automatically a letter of reprimand. And anybody that's been in the Air Force or knows a little bit about the Air Force, a letter of reprimand is pretty stern. The far as the disciplinary paperwork in the Air Force, letter of reprimand is one step before you get a non-judicial punishment, an Article 15. And really, you don't get an Article 15 for failing a fitness test. You get so many letters of reprimand, then they take stripes, they take rank, money away from you, and that's pretty serious for not being able to run very fast or lift very much. So that's one of the things that's definitely changed from the time that I started running the mile and a half. The problems with that, though, you begin to put something in the minds of people that if they're not NFL speed or NBA speed or NFL strength or Olympic class type athletes, you begin to put this thing in their mind that they're going to be punished for it. Sure, being in the military, that we should have a certain level of fitness, but we shouldn't be cutting people's heads off because they can't jump as high as LeBron James or lift as much as an NFL lineman. We want people healthy in that regard, but at the same time we have to be realistic. So my proposal would be to gear the fitness standards more towards the career field. Having a certain level of fitness to be able to do your job. If you're an office guy, of course you're not. We love it if you could run as fast as some of the mechanics or some of the cops. That's great. Nobody's putting a limiter on you that way to exceed the standards. That's nice, but the standard wouldn't be as strenuous as it would be for a TAC-P. Now that might cause some animosity between the office guys and the TAC-Ps, but here's my little piece on it. No one put a gun to those guys' heads and told them that, hey, you had to bust heads for a living, or no one put a gun to this guy's head and said that he had to become an office guy. You know, depending on what your aptitude is, what your skill level is, and things of this nature, that's what determines how you get to what career field you get to go into. And that also determines determine what fitness standard that you're held to. Holding everybody to the same fitness standard isn't realistic. A lot of good people get put out of the Air Force every year because they're extremely good at the job that they're doing, but the technicality, the fitness piece, they don't necessarily excel at. So some fitness standards would be lowered, some would stay the same. Some, like mechanics, for example, mechanics would probably be the middle of the two. Not saying you have to be extremely fast or extremely strong to be a mechanic, but you probably be an average guy, an average guy with fitness. Saying you probably have to be able to run a mile and a half in 12 minutes or something like that. And for a guy like me, that's slow. But you wouldn't necessarily have to break the sound barrier or put a hole in the earth when you're doing push-ups. That's what I believe the fitness standard should be. It should be something that's geared more towards what you're doing. That way, we make allowances for those that are extremely exceptional at the technical aspects of the job, but they fall behind in the physical aspects as far as the fitness standard. So, just wrapping up, we talked about the history of the Air Force fitness standards. We talked about the regulation that governs it, the types of evaluations and things of this nature, the current fitness standard, the evaluations, the penalties, and the problems and solutions for the future. I thank you very much for checking out my speech, and I pray you enjoy it. Good night.